All right. Hello and welcome everyone to another Why Would You Use? So today we are going to be revisiting the Glaive Prime because Glaives are back, and I think the Glaive Prime is the best of the Glaives being back, and it is good enough that I think it is in a top tier position among melee weapons alongside stuff like the Reaper Prime and the Nakana Prime and so on and so forth. Glaives are good once again. They are very, very fun. So, before we get into this test, let's look at the build. There are a couple of different configurations that I have had success with, but in general, I would suggest this. This is only a one forma build, and before we go any further, reminder that Glaive Prime is unvaulted right now. So, this is a very accessible build. You can add one forma to this if you would like to make a change that I have tested, which is, the way I tested it, was to switch in regular organ shatter and switch to power throw instead of volatile quick return, which we'll go over in a second. This build does the highest damage numbers that I have seen with this. We have hit in some, crazy headshot red crit scenarios for 11 million with this build. But I think that this build is probably not actually optimal because you do get a ton of damage from power throw, and it becomes a little less finicky to use. But if you're willing to add just a little bit of finickiness, you get pretty interesting results via adding volatile quick return and then switching, of course, to amalgam organ shatter so you can throw the glaive just a little bit faster. Although, of course, if you add one more forma, you can switch to amalgam organ shatter anyway and use power throw instead for those higher numbers. Volatile quick return is new and drops from enemies on Deimos. It is basically just a modifier on the classic quick return mod, which is just -4 bounce. This is -4 bounce, but also plus 100% blast radius and plus 100% chance to explode, but it disables punch through. This is incredibly powerful because the blast radius increase works on your heavy attacks because they are an explosion, which means the rest of this build, which is your pretty classic heavy attack build, means that doing your heavy explosions does a ton of damage, and it is in a much larger area because of volatile quick return. So it's pretty powerful to use as a heavy attack weapon. I will say I have messed around with this in a hybrid build where you're using focus energy and Zeneric in order to make it so you only lose 10% of your current combo. This works fine and is reasonably good, but this build is not as good as the heavy attack build, mostly because the regular explosions from volatile quick return don't build any combo. I think that this build would be much, much more viable if they did, and it honestly might be a bug that they don't because it is the melee weapon hitting the enemies, so in theory it should be building combo. I think this build would be an interesting side grade to the heavy build if volatile worked that way, but at current, it does not. So the heavy build, basically, all that you're going to do with this is you're going to equip the glaive, you're going to throw the glaive, and then you hit the heavy attack button while it's in midair, and it explodes. That is the whole deal. The combo stuff, like if you want to use your stances and things, that's going to be the hybrid build if you want to get really, really fancy with it, and that's awesome. But in general, all you're going to do is throw it, make it explode, and it'll come right back to you when it blows up. It will also, upon hitting any surface, explode for a smaller explosion. So you want to throw it, and then before it makes contact with anything, blow it up with the heavy attack to do the most amount of damage. Now for this, we are going to show this against 20 Exo Gokstat officers, which are one of the toughest units in the game, and we will be bumping their level up to 180 when we do that. But let's show our regular test first at level 80 because it's been a while, and these enemies have, I'll be honest, absolutely no shot at surviving this, because this is a really good melee weapon. They don't have a shot against any really good melee weapon. But let's just do it for the sake of doing it. All right. I'm going to throw this. Those enemies are dead. It's worth noting that heavy attacks from Glaive Prime guaranteed proc slash whenever they don't kill the enemy outright with the heavy damage. So that's pretty good. They're going to always proc slash whenever they don't outright kill the enemy, which is going to usually assist you in actually just killing the enemy. And these are very, very strong slash procs. Like, they are quite large. So large that the Exo Gokset officer's armor isn't gonna help them much. And even scaled just way, way up, they will die. Now, I made myself invincible for this because my little Excalibur here will also die, but these slash procs are intensely damaging. Obviously, against enemies, that's stuff you would want to throw it multiple times, but just like the damage output that you can get, and like, it is just incredible against these enemies. Like, it is so much damage. Like, being able to just dish out this kind of damage is basically like having a Reaper Prime heavy attack build that you can throw across the room, and as long as you're good at detonating it, like I failed there, as long as you are good at timing the detonation to hit like the most amount of enemies, you are just gonna be absolutely obliterating enemies. It is worth noting there are a couple new things with glaives that I'm gonna go over, which is if you throw it and then it returns and you hit E again to continue to throw, it is comboable, so you don't have to like bring it back to you and then swing and then hold and like wait for it to go off. You can just continue to throw it. This feels awesome, and just, you know, you could do it in the air as well. It feels great. It's super, super good. And I'm just enjoying it a lot. Glaives are back. It's basically the modern version of, for those of you who remember, the really ancient power throw glaive stuff that we had back in the day when I think that was the release of power throw all those years ago. So yeah, that shit is doing it again. It's just way fancier and super, super good. So if you were looking to use a glaive, this is the time, especially with so many single-handed secondaries being so good right now. Doing the combined glaive plus secondary stuff feels really good to use. I was doing it a whole bunch on stream last night, and it's just out and out great. It's fantastic. It's nice to have yet another weapon just kind of added into the I don't know which melee weapon is best because there's so many good ones kind of pantheon here. But it's definitely maybe the best thing about the update that glaives are so good now. Some of the other really good glaives are if you're not using any Warframes that rely on any kind of combo, the Zorus is actually quite usable. So if you invested a bunch of Forma in that and then got dumpstered whenever DE nerfed it, it can be used by itself to pretty good effect now. And there is also the Path Assist, which has pretty similar stuff to Glaive Prime, but is just a little bit worse. But it's like infested theme, and it has like maggot stuff and all these other things that you might want to use on a Warframe just for fun. But anyway, that is going to do it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video and are enjoying the Glaive Prime. I will see you guys tomorrow.